The Queensland Parliament is about to undergo its most significant overhaul since the abolition of the Upper House in 1922. Both sides of politics agree reform was long overdue, but there's a change to the Speaker's role, and from inside and outside the House there are voices of dissent. Some say the Speaker will lose much of his traditional power and have labelled it a throwback to the Joe era. Karen Binney reports.
John Mickel takes his position as the Speaker of Queensland's Parliament very seriously. It's more than a job. As with others who've held the position before him, it's been treated as a high office of public service and above party politics.
I genuinely believe that I'd be letting down the office of Speaker if I didn't speak out on behalf of the Parliament against what I see as an intrusion by the Executive and the expunging of the Speaker from the administrative role.
The Speaker is effectively the Minister for the Parliament, in charge of the precinct.
Now that chair is interesting. That was built especially for the new Parliament when it was established.
He also keeps MPs in line, but under a raft of changes the Speaker will be sidelined. A series of new portfolio-based committees will scrutinise policy, one of them to oversee the Parliament, taking many of the Speaker's powers away.
The system that we currently have has served 52 previous parliaments in Queensland very well. As Speaker, I have no objection to a committee made up of all sides of the Parliament helping ensure that my duties are carried out efficiently and effectively in the administration of both this wonderful historic building but also the electorate offices. That's not at issue. What is at issue is that the Speaker has been expunged from any role, and that is at variance with the Westminster system.
Jim Fouras was regarded as one of the state's most respected speakers.
It is the chief scrutineer of the Executive, and the moment you have the Executive involved in any way in running the Parliament, interfering with anything in the Parliament like that, is a danger sign. This is just unprecedented. This is a dangerous precedent for all our parliamentary democracies. I just can't believe that we've gone down this far, because obviously the people that have brought this on do not understand the role of the Speaker and how our Parliament should function.
Jim Fouras was the Speaker for 6 years from 1990.
If we're going to have a body like that, it should be chaired by the Speaker, and the Speaker should be honoured. But the fact that the exclusion of the Speaker from that body and the inclusion of the most senior members of both the government and the opposition is in my view, it's just disgraceful. It's a vote of no confidence in the Speaker. It's not just this Speaker, it's a vote of no confidence in all the Speakers.
Labor's Judy Spence is the leader of the House and one of the architects of the changes.
What we are proposing is pretty radical. It's new, it's change. A lot of people resist change. This place hasn't changed for a long time. Since the Upper House was abolished in 1922, we've basically done the same thing day in and day out. I mean, the world is changing out there. I think it's great that our Parliament is going to become much more contemporary and introduce some changes, some reforms.
On the role of the Speaker, several former politicians and former speakers have criticised the move. They're saying it's an effective stripping of power. Do you accept their criticism?
Well, no, I don't accept the criticism, and in fact neither does the Solicitor General, and we received the Solicitor General's advice on what we are doing. And he said that by increasing the role of the opposition, increasing the power of the opposition, that you're actually going back to Westminster tradition and lessening the grip of the Executive on the Parliament. So that's got to be a good thing.
Despite murmurings and concerns about changes to the Speaker's role, there's no doubt the government has the numbers on the floor of the House to push them through. And although initially the opposition supported the move, there's growing concern on that side of politics.
Well, it totally destroys the Speaker's role and the whole history of parliamentary tradition. I mean, if we look at the history of democracy and the development of Parliament, it parallels the role of the Speaker. In the old days, the Speaker was the King's man, and as we got more democracy, the Speaker became the spokesman for the Parliament. So what we essentially have is a throwback to the dark ages in terms of the evolution of Parliament, and it's a very sorry day for the state of Queensland.
The new committee system will face its first test during the annual budget estimates hearings next month. Parliament's yet to pass the changes stripping the Speaker of his powers. In the meantime, opponents hope the government will realise it's making a mistake and give the Speaker a position on the new committee which oversees the Legislative Assembly.
Parliaments run by the executive do not serve the people well. We found that in the Joe years. Do we want to go back there?
If you're the responsible Minister for Parliament, there is not one other minister that gets sworn in and then gets told, oh, listen, you can look after the meetings, but we're going to have a committee run your portfolio. Well, if you don't do that with the ministers, why in heaven's name would you do that with the Speaker of the Parliament?
Karen Binney reporting.